All right, welcome. It is Wednesday, Football Roundtable on From the Couch Sports Talk Radio. I am Sean, your host, and I am joined by Dave. How are you doing tonight, David?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. This is the first show of the summer. It is officially summer, and thank everybody who's watching. Thank you. Bring your friends. Like, share, subscribe, notify, so you can get all the information if David can remember to post it.
Yeah, sorry. It took. I was a little late in sharing of the stream, but you guys come on in. Let's talk some football. It is OTA season. The NFL season is really just officially kicking off now. Teams are getting back to work. So,
I was eating my lunch today, and I was going through my reels, and all the OTA, all the teams are coming up on my feed. And I'm like, okay, because they know I'm a Jet fan, but they were showing me everything. And, I was watching some of the practices. So some of them looked good. Some of them looked not so good, New York Jets. But not, point out anybody in particular.
Cleveland.
Yeah. So anyway, at the some of the news from around the league today, or I think it was yesterday, they asked Terry Bradshaw on his Sports Talk Radio what his thoughts were on this whole Aaron Rodgers thing, and he did not have nice things to say.
Oh,
he said it's a joke. I mean, come on, this is a joke. And obviously he's like, what are they going to do? Sign this guy for a year? So, David, did you see that? What did you take away from it?
Yeah, I did. I was actually going to share it to the group chat, but I didn't. But no, I think he's right in the sense that you're holding up the development of your team. You're holding up everything to decide if this guy's going to come in and play for you. And he's going to be a 1-year stopgap, and you're still not answering your true question as at the quarterback position. And, my thing is, when you look at Aaron Rodgers, is he going to be any better or do anything different to where your team is at today? And like I said, I think the resounding answer is no. Aaron Rodgers 5 years ago might have made a huge difference. Aaron Rodgers today, there's no difference. So to me, you've held your team hostage from the end of the season, all through free agency, all through the draft, for what? To be a 9 or 8-9 team or 7-10 team. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I saw some other stuff on the web today about him talking to Green Bay to get traded back there for one day and retire. So he retires a Green Bay Packer, which whenever that day comes, I think he needs to do.
Yeah.
He's a Green Bay Packer. And Rich Eisen brought this up, and Rich Eisen is so near and dear to my heart. I love Rich. Not only has he really staked his claim in the sports world, but he also now, on his show actually has actors and stuff in it, and he talks about stuff. So his show is, I really like what he's done with his show. Hopefully one day we can do that if we get more than 2 people watching.
Yeah.
But he brought up, is it time for the Pittsburgh Steelers to walk away from Kirk Cousins? From Aaron Rodgers and go for Kirk Cousins?
Well, again, I don't know if I think it's time for the Pittsburgh Steelers to realize that Kirk Cousins is not your future. Aaron Rodgers is not your future. You need to worry about your future. You need to look at the long-term uh, quarterback situation of the franchise. You cannot continue to sign 35-year-old veterans. You cannot continue to sign 1 or 2 year guys. You need to have a plan at your quarterback position. You need to get your next Ben Roethlisberger. You need to get your franchise guy. And until they decide that they want to do that, and Mike Tomlin, who can't develop a quarterback, does not want to do that. They want to. They feel like their winning season streak is more important than the ultimate goal of getting beyond the first round playoff victory, and getting and contending for a championship. And until they do that, and until they figure that out, they are not going anywhere. So to me, Pittsburgh needs to really step back and decide, hey, maybe we have a down year so we can get a top 10 pick, so we can get ourselves a quarterback, so that we can be relevant again for the next 10, 15 years. And until they do that, these 1 year veteran guys like Kirk Cousins is a statue behind that line, and all that other stuff. You are, it makes no sense to me. It just really doesn't. So Kirk Cousins to me is not the answer. Aaron Rodgers is not the answer. You drafted Will Howard. You got Mason Rudolph. Let's see what they can do this year. Okay. Can't be any worse, and see what happens. Because like I said, quite frankly, if you're Pittsburgh, you need to bring in a guy that's going to be your face of your franchise for the next 10 years. And that's what they need to do. They can't keep paying these 1 year guys $10 million, $10 million, $20 million. Get a guy who's going to be your long-term answer.
Yeah, I mean, they stepped in it last year when they got Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, at bargain basement, like what, 1.3 million or something. It was like ridiculously low.
Well, and I think they made a mistake with Justin Fields because, I mean, he was 4-2. They could have signed Justin Fields and foregone all this 42-year-old veteran quarterback who's going to come in. You didn't give Justin Fields the opportunity to finish what he had started because you already promised the starting job to Russ. And Russ came off, he started really good, and then seven games later, and to me, like I said, Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin is an overrated coach. Can't develop anybody, and the proof is in the pudding. You see it. You see it. He can't control a locker room, can't control a wide receiver room. Doesn't really have. He's too much of a player's coach and not enough of a coach. And to me, that's your problem right there, and it'll continue to be one.
All right. Okay, so we're going to move off the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to move to the New England Patriots. So a video came out showing Stephon Diggs with some women on a boat.
And it was Cardi B.
Yeah, I don't know who it was.
I think it was Cardi B.
Okay. But he was holding a packet of pink powder, which typically is ecstasy. The Patriots are aware of it. Obviously, they're going to question him. I'm sure, he still doesn't have it. And if he did, he would turn it over to be tested. Right. But that it could be a problem. What type of impact do you see this having, Dave?
Well, I don't think it's going to be much of an impact other than, it's going to be something that New England's going to have to deal with. Again, I think Stephon Diggs is Stephon Diggs' worst enemy. He sabotages himself wherever he goes. And, again, Buffalo not having to deal with that drama, Houston not having to deal with that drama, that's great for them from a franchise standpoint. And again, then it becomes New England's problem. And they just signed him to a 3-year, $69 million contract. So, like I said, you do your due diligence in the offseason to sign guys of high character and high whatever. And a team like New England who's rebuilding and trying to retool and get better, there probably were better options out there for the wide receiver position who were more talented and less problematic. So again, I mean, you get what you reap what you sow, I guess is the term that I would say. And so New England can reap what they sow.
Okay. I gotta ask for Eric. Do you now admit Stephon Diggs is a problem?
Well, I think Stephon Diggs was always a problem, but I don't think he was a problem in the locker room. I think he's a problem to himself. I think he's a self-sabotager. He brings on his own downfall. He brings on his own demise. Do I think he was a problem in the locker room? No, because I don't think he would have lasted in Buffalo as long as he did if he was. Because again, the one thing that I could say, at least about Buffalo, is it's an organization that doesn't put up with that. They will move on because they are about a locker room being unified, about a team and a focus and a commitment. And I guess, when they let him go or traded him, they knew at that point that he was no longer focused and committed to the team objective. And when that happened, it was like, I'll eat $20 million in salary cap to get rid of that problem. I will hurt my team from a cap perspective because I don't want to keep that problem in my locker room. So, again, so was he a problem? I think he was a problem unto himself. And I think they got rid of that problem before it became a locker room problem.
Okay. So this is a strange question because I have feelings about this one way or another. But if you are an NFL player, you are under contract, and you are paid for every week you play a game. That's how you're paid. It's not like they sit there and they you get $1 million this year and you get 100,000 a month or 750,000 a month and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Do you have an issue with when it is the off season of players doing things like taking recreational drugs and whatever? Is it a problem if no one gets hurt, or is it?
Well, I again, number one, I think it's the recreational drug you're taking, because I think even in the off season, you're subjected to random drug testing. So again, I think that the issue is, what is the criteria? I mean, does the NFL have a zero tolerance policy for marijuana, even though it's legal in so many states and these players live in these states? So, I guess it's really dependent on. Hold on 1 second, Sean.
Okay, you're gonna sneeze.
I didn't want to sneeze into your ear. So I guess it's all dependent on is what their list of drugs is that they can or can't take. Me personally, because it's a yearly contract, they get paid for the year. They don't get paid. I mean, they get paid for the football season, but they're representative of that team for X amount of years. So whatever drugs fall under the NFL's banned substance list, you sign a contract, you basically agree to the terms of that contract to play in the NFL. So, personally, do I have a problem with a player who smokes marijuana? No, I don't. Because if you can drink a beer, you should be able to smoke a joint. I mean, that's just the way I look at it. When it comes to other substances, like cocaine or anything like that, yeah, I have a problem. They shouldn't be doing that. But again, I think marijuana, alcohol should be in the realm of doable substances. I mean, if they're doing ecstasy and fentanyl and all the other stuff, no, absolutely not. And again, even outside of the season, your contract is 5 years, not Not 1 year, take a break, 1 year, take a break. You are contracted to that team and you have an obligation to that team for that extended period. And to be in the NFL is a privilege, not a right. And when you sign a contract, you sign and you understand exactly the things that NFL players can and can't do from a contractual standpoint. Because it's just like if, like the case in point, Deshaun Watson. If Deshaun Watson went and got massages in the off season and did what he did, should he be held accountable for it from September to February or whatever, however long he's playing? I mean, are massage parlors banned? No. Can anybody decide to bring a frivolous lawsuit? Sure. So, do you punish the player based on what he did in the off season? No, I mean, you're bound by that team for that length of contract, and all those things are subjects to, NFL scrutiny, and, you can be released based on things that are detrimental to the team and the league. And so you can lose your money, your pay, your contract, and everything if you do stupid stuff. So again, I do believe that players should be able to smoke pot. I do believe that they should be able to drink. I do believe they should be able to do things that most normal people, you have a job, I have a job. I live in Arizona. If I care to partake in the aspect of marijuana after my job is over, unless I'm a federal employee or something that that frowns upon or says is something that I can't do, I should be able to do that.
Okay, that's reasonable. I do agree. You've entered into a contract with your team, and I guess when you don't only enter into a contract with a team, you also at the same time enter into a contract with the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So, half of me wants to say the team gets to decide.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to allow this. No, we won't allow that. For certain things.
Sure.
But
you got to remember that during the off season, those players are also contractually obligated to make appearances, do charitable work, do things. So even though they are outside of the season, there are certain events, certain things that the NFL does that in those contracts with teams and with everything else, they still have obligations within their organization and within the NFL. So their job is not just inside of the football season, but it's during the off season as well. And Anthony, to your point, it's exactly right. Now that Justin Tucker ain't in the league, nobody cares. And, good on him. Let him figure that out. It's headlines until it's not headlines,
I just don't think it's NFL headlines.
Right.
Now that he's not in the league, they're like, okay, we don't have to worry about this. But, it's still being litigated, and he's still got a bunch of shit going on.
Oh, sure. But the NFL, when they want to make a story a non-story, they make it a non-story. They're very quick. They're very quick. They're a great PR firm. If they want to put the lid on something, the lid is on.
If another team tries to pick him up, it's going to be right back front and center.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Because right now, I don't think anyone's going to do that. You're probably not going to hear about it until way down the line. It'll be some buried story.
I think it'll be after, 2 years of litigation, Justin Tucker is found innocent and his career will be over. And poor Justin Tucker, did he get a raw deal? They cut him. They took away his livelihood, blah, 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 this and that, and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, the damage is done. And again, I'm not saying he's innocent. I'm not saying he's guilty. I'm just saying that, like I said, there are positions of football players And there are specific players that if this is going on, Deshaun Watson, star quarterback, he's still in the league. Justin Tucker, all pro kicker, not so much, because you don't need the distraction of a kicker on your team. But that all-star quarterback who could be the difference between you being a winning franchise and not, unless you get traded to Cleveland, okay? You don't want to get rid of that guy. You want to give him $50 million a year guaranteed for 5 years. But Justin Tucker is an expendable person. And that's the hypocrisy of the NFL. If you're in an important position, if you're an important player, you're kept. If you're not, you're replaced. And life goes on. And that's the shame of the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. It is kind of despicable.
It's,
and the most despicable part is it's that Deshaun Watson, who has like 33% more cases brought against him.
Sure.
Well, he hasn't played because he's been injured and whatever, and they still keep him around. Guaranteed, as soon as his contract is over, we will never hear the name Deshaun Watson again.
Sure. And here's the best part. Okay. And you can even go as far as to say the team that you're talking about. Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice, last year before the season, is racing in a Lamborghini, gets involved in an accident, gets out of the driver's seat with a gun in his hand, all on video, and the NFL says, well, you got to wait for the process to play out. What do you got to wait for? You have a code of conduct. You have your wide receiver of your championship Kansas City Chiefs get out of the driver's seat, walk away from the vehicle with a gun in his hand. What is the process you're waiting for? You allowed him to play last year. He gets hurt. All the other stuff. Where's the suspension? You don't suspend this guy? Why? All you have to do is turn on the TV and, we got to let the legal process. You didn't let Justin Tucker's legal process play out. You let Deshaun Watson's, but you didn't let Justin Tucker's, unless the Ravens know more than we do.
Very true.
We'll see.
Very true.
We'll see.
All right. So let's go on to our main topic here. The NFL on NFL.com listed the 10 most complete teams going into OTAs and what they believe probably will be the season. Obviously, if there's key injuries, that could totally change things. So we'll go through these 10 teams one by one, and we'll kind of talk about them all. But I don't think, to any surprise, there's only like 2 teams on this list that I'm like, oh, okay, that one's kind of fishy, but. So they say the number 1 most complete team going into this season is the Philadelphia Eagles.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, I kind of agree with it. I mean, they've lost a lot of pieces on D, but I think they had enough backups, and I still think they're going to be formidable. I don't think they're, except for maybe the Commanders, I don't think they're going to have much trouble in their division. No. So I think they're all around very good. Mm-hmm. Number 2, the Baltimore Ravens.
I'd just like to see from a complete. Again, I'd like to see how the back end of the defense. I mean, they drafted Malachi Starks, and on paper as a rookie. Again, I think they're very complete. They did have some holes to fill, and Malachi Starks is a big one. So we'll see how that plays out. But again, and taking nothing away from Baltimore, I do think that they are a complete team, having re-signed Derrick Henry. That's, he's a huge part of their offense. Lamar Jackson is Lamar Jackson. And then they added DeAndre Hopkins in the offseason as well to go along with Zay Flowers. And I know DeAndre Hopkins has lost a step, and people don't talk about, Lamar Jackson's throwing prowess all the time, but Lamar Jackson puts up yards and he's able to get his guys open because of his ability to escape, scramble, and create time. And I think the unsung guy on that team, even though he's getting more recognition, is Rashad Bateman. And so, again, I look at that team offensively as absolutely complete. Defensively, they might have a little bit of a question mark or two, but all in all, I'd say that team is pretty well rounded. So I agree with that.
Okay. Let's back up for one second to Philly. Do you think they win the NFC East?
I think they do. Again, it depends on how quickly Washington gels with their new pieces. But again, like any team that gets new pieces, it's all about the time it takes them to gel and play. And the team that, I will say this, between Philly and Washington, from a player turnover standpoint, they didn't have a lot of turnover. They added some pieces, some missing pieces. Philadelphia might have had a little bit more turnover defensively than Washington, with Brandon Graham retiring, so on and so forth. But, I think a lot of their second and third year players are ready to step in. Plus, they did a good job in the draft to address the things that they were short. So, I look at those two teams as, I think they're going to be fighting for it neck and neck, but I do think Philadelphia might just have a little bit more firepower.
Okay. The Ravens. Do the Ravens win the AFC North?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I believe so. I think so.
Agreed. Yeah, I don't think there's much more yet. I mean, I think Pittsburgh's.
Yeah. I mean, Cincinnati, just because offensively, defensively, Cincinnati's a mess still, and they haven't signed Trey Hendrickson, their best player on defense. Right. And then they lost the other guy on the other end. I forget what his name is, the other defensive end that left in free agency or retired, whatever his name was. Right. So, again, that's a big void. But you never count out Joe Burrow in that offense. But they're going to need 45 points a game if they're going to contend for the NFC North.
Okay. The number 3 most complete team, the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, you look at their record, again, not a lot of turnover. I think it's going to be interesting to see how they respond with the new offensive coordinator. I think Ben Johnson, when you look at teams, sometimes the loss isn't so much on the player. Yeah, that's true, Anthony. They haven't, and the one guy's holding out because of the language in the contract, the first round pick. So that there's issues there. So Cincinnati is a front office mess when it comes to player signings and so on and so forth. So that needs to be played out. And like I said, as far as Detroit, sometimes you don't have to lose players for it to be a change. And when you lose a guy like Ben Johnson, your offensive coordinator, I think
defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I think that is a very, depending on the players, depending on who they bring in, depending on if it's a guy from within who's continuing that offense, expanding the offense, doing different things, so on and so forth. I think sometimes people forget that the continuity from the outside going in is just as important. And so, again, it caused me a lot of consternation as a Bills fan thinking that Joe Brady might be gone because we've gotten the best Josh Allen in 2 years for the last 2 years since he came in. And, that can play a big part of how that team continues to play and progress and continue to move forward. So I think team-wise, they are complete. But again, I want to see how they play with the new coordinator, both offensively and defensively, and hope they can.
Yeah, but they also get what's his name back, the defensive end. Oh, come on. Can't remember his name. But okay, so then do the Lions win the NFC North?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I think if Minnesota would have went out and got a different quarterback, or maybe tried to make a trade or something, I think Minnesota's a talented team, obviously, but J.J. McCarthy is just the unknown, and so at that point, I can't sit there and say I can't look at Minnesota the same way I looked at them last year and say that they'll contend because J.J. McCarthy is that unknown in that division.
All right. The number 4 team on their list is the Kansas City Chiefs.
I don't know. I don't know.
That's a tough one.
It's hard to say. I don't know.
I mean, they really haven't lost any pieces,
but they really haven't. They really haven't played together. I mean, they haven't lost pieces. But let's see. Rashad Bateman was out, or not Rashad Bateman. Rashee Rice was out last year. Hollywood Brown was out last year. They had Xavier Worthy. They drafted the new guy, the new wide receiver. I forget, Jalen Smith, or is that his name? I think. I don't know if that's him. But it's like it's tough for me to take a team and look at them and say they're a complete team when 3/4 of their complete team hasn't played together. And they did. You're right. They did add an offensive line component, absolutely. But they also lost Joe Thuney. And, they had Thuney playing out at tackle when he was better fitted at guard. But they ran out of options. So they got rid of Thuney. Thuney went to Chicago. And, they did add a piece, obviously, for their offensive line. But again, on paper, I can look at a lot of things and say this team, that team. And it's just tough for me at this point to put Kansas City up that high, only because they haven't played as a complete unit yet. And so where we look at those first 4 teams, I can look at Baltimore, I can look at Detroit, I can look at Philly, the first 3 teams, and I don't know if you said another team prior to that.
Nope, we're just on number 4.
So those 3 teams, and I can look and I can say that those 3 teams have all played together. They've added, not lost a lot. Philly might have been the only team in those top 3 that might have a couple more questions just because of the 2 or 3 spots they lost defensively, but they also had first and second year players backing up playing key fill-in roles, and those players can step into those roles. So I just look at Kansas City as they could very well be a complete team. I haven't seen that complete team play yet.
Okay. Does Kansas City win the AFC West?
It's going to be a lot harder. I'm not going to say yes or no, but if they win it, it isn't going to be they're not going to be 16-1 or 15-2. They are not going to be close to undefeated this year.
I kind of agree with that. So we're going to go. That's a maybe. I mean, I think the Raiders are going to be better this year. I think I want to see San Diego so bad. San Diego, go back to San Diego Chargers. The Los Angeles Chargers. They're going to be a little better, and Denver's going to be better. I don't think it's a cakewalk, but I still think they're the best team in that whole division. Number 5. I know you don't want to spend a lot of time on this, David, but it's the Buffalo Bills.
Well, again, I look at the Buffalo Bills, and I don't know if I would rank them at number 5 from a complete team. I mean, they've added offensively, but on the defense,
real quick, this is like we're just starting off like these. Right. So it's when we get like right before the season.
Sure,
you could change, but as far as on paper.
Well, yeah. If you look at it on paper, what they did in the draft to fill those holes and add to their secondary, add to their defensive line, all the types of things that they had to do, sure, then fine. If that's what you want to do, what's up, Eric? If that's how you want to look at it and add to that. But to me, again, when I look at complete teams overall, I want to see a complete team that actually played and was complete. The Bills offensively, I think that they're fine from a complete standpoint. I think they've upgraded their receiver position from what they were last year. Their offensive line was the top 5 offensive line last year, but defensively, you're adding a lot of new pieces. So to say that they're the 5th-rated complete team, I can't say that yet because I haven't seen them play as a complete defense. So at NFL.com on paper, yeah, you can put that down and write it down and say NFL.com says this. To me, the proof is in the playing. And, like I said, as much as I'm a Bills fan and want to sit there and rah, Buffalo did great things, until they do it on the field, I'm not going to be one of these people who just says, Bills killed the draft. They got a number 1 cornerback, a number 1 defensive tackle, a number 1 this, number 1 that. They're going to go out and this team is solid. I mean, they addressed a lot of their needs. They addressed the needs that they needed to help them. Does it happen one year? Does it happen year 1, year 2? I don't know that, but I mean, if that's where NFL.com rates them, I will look at it after this or after training camp's over and see what the health is. I mean, Joey Bosa already has a calf injury, so we'll have to see how that plays out. They signed 2 guys that are suspended 6 games, so I mean, they can be nice and put Buffalo at 5, but until I see that team play together, but they will win the division.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. All right, we are now joined by Eric. I had to mute you because the baseball cards you put in your spokes there were making a little bit too much noise. And that's a weird old reference you probably don't understand. But hey, how you doing tonight, Eric?
Well, I'm okay. Just got done coaching Northeast Indiana's best group of running backs here.
That's cool.
Summer practice has begun. Doing a lot of ball security drills. We ain't going to be turning the ball over. Turn the ball over, we don't play. But yeah, it was good working with the next Jerome Bettis and Le'Veon Bells of the world here, grooming them and developing them, right? So hey, I was listening to I hopped in here to just while I'm out driving. I just dropped one of the running backs off, and I was out driving here, and I was listening in, and Dave got on his Bills thing. I don't want to get too far off kilter, and I only be a minute. But are we really sure they upgraded all those positions, Dave?
Well, again, I don't. What, receiver-wise? Yeah. And from the receiver standpoint, from what they had last year? You mean Jordan Palmer and Elijah Moore are not comparable to Matt Collins? Because that's who we lost.
Matt Collins did all the dirty stuff, though. I don't think
Jordan
Palmer. I just let me real quick, and I won't be too long, Sean, because I want to respect you guys' time. But Jordan Palmer, is a certain type of receiver, type of receiver that they have. I've grown now that I've just engaging in the game 24/7, 365, as much as I am. I've grown to appreciate the dirty things that Matt Collins did, the gritty things. Okay. And so I don't think either one of those. Elijah Moore is just Curtis Samuel. Jordan Palmer is just, Keon Coleman. I don't know. You just got more of what you have. Matt Collins was a different type of receiver with attitude. So, I mean, like I said, that's why we find out, we wait, and we see how they finish. And ideally, from a fantasy football perspective, you gain people that may be fantasy football type eligible players. but I don't know if they necessarily will do the same things that Matt Collins will do.
No, and Eric, I agree with you. That's why, as I was saying, when this list for the most complete teams, and they have Kansas City at 4, Buffalo at 5. My point with Buffalo was I can't necessarily call them a complete team because they've revamped the players on their defense. And yeah, maybe on paper the guys like who they drafted and so on and so forth. And Kansas City, I haven't seen them play as a complete team because half their team was injured last year and didn't play together. So on paper, you can say all you want, but the proof is in what they do. And so I wasn't complimentary to either Kansas City or Buffalo because I haven't seen those guys play together. I mean, I can look at, like I said, we can look at a paper and after the draft and say everybody won the draft. But until you actually put them all together on the field and they play as a unit and play as a team, I can't sit there and honestly say that Buffalo made drastic improvements to their defense till I see those guys go out there on the field and play. Or I can't even say they made drastic improvements to their wide receivers until I go out and see how they're utilized. And so again, it's a crapshoot at best with all of these opinions that we have about what we think. Because remember last year, like you said, you got complimentary of the gritty things. But remember last year when Buffalo signed Matt Collins, you were like, oh, here comes a game changer, ha, 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 and quote. But now you appreciate the dirty things that he did, and that's because you saw them. And so that's why I don't hold a lot of
on public time for our many viewers that are watching tonight. I would like to publicly apologize for Matt Collins. I was going to say absolutely nothing and pull Conor McGregor, but I'll apologize. Matt Collins was a very gritty, team blue, good player. I mean, if I'm Buffalo and I look at him, I'd have made more of an effort because I thought he made some critical, timely plays. Right. And not only that, he was a no block, no rock kind of guy. He was, I'm going to block and I'm going to get the rock. And I grew to appreciate him. Of all the Buffalo Bills I despised because I wanted you to lose, it was him because he was a big part of your winning. Right. And so, I just wanted to come on there and then, just real quick because I gotta feed kids and and the dogs. Dogs are gonna go nuts when I walk in because I've been gone all day. But I just wanted to say this to you real quick, and I don't know if we talked about it or not. I'm on the Mason Rudolph bandwagon, so I hope Rodgers doesn't sign.
Oh, is that because Terry Bradshaw changed your thinking?
No,
Terry.
I was talking to the guys, and I'm like, if he's gonna be on this, if he's not gonna come to OTAs, and see, we're in our like OTA type, we're building, where all these, we're preaching to the kids, be there, be on time, earn your playing time, show up in the summertime, do your work. If I'm going to preach that, how do I like think Rodgers, screw it, don't show up until August? I'm not okay with that. Right. So, I mean, if he wants to sign sometime in the next 2 weeks, I'm okay with it. If he doesn't make it, fuck it. We'll go Mason Rudolph, and Mason Rudolph will throw 70 touchdowns, my guy.
There you go.
There we go. So I just
Madden says it is true.
So anyhow, I hope you guys have a good night. I'm going to listen in while I walk in the house, but I just want to say hi. It's good to see you all.
All righty, boss.
Yep.
Thanks, absolutely. Guys. Good to see you again, Eric.
Nice seeing you, Eric.
Okay, so real quick, aren't the truck nuts supposed to be on the back of the rearview mirror? And all I can say is, I don't know what phone book he's sitting on to see over the wheel, but they don't make phone books anymore, so he's got to figure out something.
He's driving a Yugo, so he's able to be upright on that thing.
Ah, there you go. All right, so okay, we're done with Buffalo, and yes, they're going to win the division. The number 6 most complete team by NFL.com is the Minnesota Vikings?
I don't know. I don't know if I can say that with a. I mean, they still have a good defense, but again, when you talk about the most important position and that being quarterback, I have no idea what JJ McCarthy is. So, that's like putting the Tennessee Titans as a complete team, or I don't know what other quarterback rookie guy is out there. I can't. I mean, yeah, you got the guys on that side of the ball. You got Aaron Jones and the dude who played for Jordan Mason. You got whenever you have Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver or 1A in the league, or him, and so yeah, I get that, but that quarterback is your bread and butter, and he is the big unknown, and because he's so important to the offense going, I can't honestly sit there and say that I would put Minnesota at 6, because the most important position, you have absolutely no clue what he's going to do. So I don't know.
This is one of the couple of teams on this list that I'm kind of like, I don't know yet. I will say that the coach for Minnesota is excellent.
Yeah.
I mean, he took Sam Darnold, someone who was starting for the Jets, then got released from the Panthers, was a backup for San Francisco. He did okay in the game he played. But I think he's like, you know what? I think that J.J. McCarthy is going to be as good, if not a little better than Sam Darnold, because a couple of Sam Darnold's passes, not a couple, but multiple Sam Darnold passes were complete freaking hucks. He just threw it up there, and Jefferson came down with it because that's who Jefferson is. It is probably the big, like if J.J. McCarthy craps out, they go from being the 6th team that's most complete to one of the 6 teams that's most trash.
Right.
So, and I think we're both in agreement, obviously, because you said, and I agree with you, that Detroit's going to win that division next year. That Minnesota's not going to win this division.
I mean, I would put Minnesota, if I was doing that, in the maybe the top 5 or top 10 boom or bust teams. They're either going to explode or they're going to, so yeah. But I don't, like I said, roster wise, defensively, offensively, from skill positions and so on. Yeah. But when you have that such an unknown quantity or commodity at quarterback, I cannot make them one of the top 10 complete teams because I don't know about that position.
Right. I mean, if you had to put somebody in this category, yeah, they probably would make it in the category, but I don't think it's like a foregone. They're going to be awesome this year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Number 7, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, I
like this one, and I like where they're at.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I could see them being up another spot. I could see them jumping ahead of Minnesota. They got the quarterback. Their running game is good. Their wide receivers are good. They drafted the one. The biggest question mark is Chris Godwin, how he comes back from the injury he sustained at the end of the year. Defensively, they're sound. And again, just from an all-around roster standpoint, absolutely deserve to be in the top 10. Again, like I said, there are question marks. I mean, the health of Chris Godwin is going to be a key factor for them because he's so important to their offense. And he plays that vital role. He's probably, if you look at it from a situational standpoint, he's probably Baker Mayfield's go-to guy in certain in those key situations, whether it's first downs or moving the chains or doing all that stuff. So again, I think his coming back and being able to play to the level he did before his injury is going to be key. But yeah, I would definitely put Tampa Bay in that top 10 for sure.
Okay. Do you think Tampa Bay will win their division?
Yeah, the NFC South is so weak, and I'm not saying that because they're weak, Tampa wins, but I think that that division and Tampa Bay's roster as it currently is, and the lack of any serious threat in that division makes them a foregone division winner.
Yeah, Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta, but you got Michael Penix, the second-year quarterback. He started half the season. I mean, that gave him obviously some valuable playing time, but I don't know if he's ready to make that leap from rookie to second-year phenom. So so we'll see. And again, I think Atlanta is missing some playmakers on offense still, wide receiver wise. So
okay. I agree with you. I think Tampa Bay is going to win that division. Especially with this is Baker Mayfield's second season in Tampa. So it's not like he was a rookie and this could be a second year slump. He is a proven quantity. We know who he is. And I got to say, if I played on Tampa Bay, I would love to have a quarterback on any team. I would love to have a quarterback like Baker.
Yeah,
he's got heart.
Sure.
Okay, so number 8 on this list, the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I like what they did in the draft. I like the fact that they addressed their wide receiver position. That was probably one of the weakest links on their team. I think they've filled some key positions. And again, I think with Jordan Love, you have that proven commodity at quarterback. Defensively, they have a little bit of issue, but again, nothing that I don't think they addressed, and I think they can overcome with the additions that they made in the offseason through free agency and the draft. So yeah, I can live with them being one of the complete teams. But again, it's one of those things where as you add those players, especially, looking at it on paper, you got Matthew Golden, the wide receiver. You drafted the other guy. I forget who it is, the other wide receiver. You still have Jaden Reed. Christian Watson is a wild card. I don't know if he's going to even play this year, but he might be out all year. But again, so it's a complete team on paper if they gel and if they perform to what their expectation is. So again, it's one of those that we'll just have to see where it goes. But yeah, I think Green Bay has a pretty complete team. It's a solid team. But again, they still do have some weaknesses that maybe have been addressed in the draft and free agency.
Yeah. And we both agree they're not going to win the division because we've already both said the Lions will.
Yeah. But I will say this. I believe Green Bay finishes ahead of Minnesota.
Ooh. Okay.
Because again, JJ McCarthy, until I see it, if you asked me, I know Jordan Love. I don't know JJ McCarthy. And I know that Jordan Love can play some damn good football. JJ McCarthy's the wild card. So if you asked me today, Green Bay would finish in second place in that division.
Okay. Well, I've written it down. I'm sure I'm going to lose this paper and we won't ever remember it again. But okay.
Don't worry. We'll pick our divisions again this year.
Yep. Okay, so we number 9. San Francisco 49ers. I don't know where to start with this one.
I'm sorry. Well, problem number one. I mean, and they handed out some big contracts to people. Fred Warner, George Kittle, Brock Purdy. Here's my issue. Brandon Ayuk. Here's my issue. Brandon Ayuk. Or does he miss the first half of the season? Does he miss 2 games, 4 games, 8 games, 6 games? We don't know. But more importantly, it comes down to this. The players that are gone, Brock Purdy has not shown that he can elevate his teammates around him. The teammates, when you lose an Ayuk, when you lose a Christian McCaffrey, when you lose a Deebo Samuel, defensively, if you're hurt, as your franchise quarterback who's getting paid $55 million or $50 million a year, you have to be that quarterback who can elevate the talent around you to play to the level you need them to. And Brock Purdy has only showed that he can play to the level of talent around him, not elevate the players to that level. And so to me, San Francisco should not be on this list at all. This is a team that is in transition. They need more playmakers. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is Christian McCaffrey. If Christian McCaffrey stays healthy, if he plays 3 games, I don't know. And then what does Brock Purdy do? I've seen what he does without his playmakers. That's not a complete team. That's not a complete roster. So I totally disagree with that placement. Period.
Yeah, I agree with you here. Minnesota was the number 1 team that I had an issue with on this list. Number 2 team, but San Francisco was definitely the number 1 team I had an issue with being on this list. Because now, I mean, this could be a really poor season, and you're right. You got Christian McCaffrey, great player, gets hurt a lot. If he can't play, they're screwed. They lost Deebo Samuel. Brandon Ayuk better get his ass in gear because he just got that big money after killing that season last year. They should have been a lot better last year.
Right, and again, I don't know how many games he misses to start the year.
And I don't know. Yeah, I think he'll probably be back. But the fact is, if I was in that locker room, I'd be like, "You selfish motherfucker! You killed this season for us. You did. So you better come out this next year and you better make it up. And if you start bitching or doing whatever, get the fuck out." Their defense is good. They're getting aged a little bit. Do you think that San Francisco wins the NFC West?
Nope. That's the Rams. That would be the Rams.
I agree with you.
Yeah. No.
I do agree with you on that.
Yep.
I think the Rams are a more complete team than San Francisco is.
Yep. Exactly.
I actually think the Las Vegas Raiders.
Well, my thing is, I don't know how the Rams aren't on that list. I mean, they might be 10, but I mean, when you look at that team, you got Matt Stafford, Karen Williams, Blake Corum, you got Puka Nacua, you have Devontae Adams. Yeah. I mean, do these guys not look at a roster? I mean, maybe defensively, the Rams might struggle a little bit, but even still, I don't even know how you could say the Rams defensively struggled. They had the Rookie of the Year in Jared Verse, Bryant Young, and it's like the fact that you're going to have the greatest show on turf again. I mean, maybe not speed-wise, but you got Devontae Adams who can stretch the field. You got Puka Nacua who can produce yards after catch for days. And don't they have who's the other guy that they have? Didn't they draft a wide receiver last year too?
Yeah, the slot guy.
Yeah, I forget, but no,
I can't remember.
Yeah, I forget. But like I said, whoever made that list on NFL.com probably like missed a team or two.
Well, as long as wait until we get into the whole buy it or sell it again. Especially that idiot from fucking Sports Illustrated. I'm like, sorry, we went over that shit last year. And like, really, I could have written from Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, we should start doing those buy or sells now, just to really.
What's the way too early projections really start coming out? But this is kind of one of them.
Well, they have like the top 100 like predictions or way out predictions and stuff. We should start going through those.
Yeah, well, all I can say, I already have it marked down on my phone. It is when the top players, the 100 best players comes out. Because last year, Aaron Rodgers was 92 and he played 4 snaps.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see, because I don't think he's even going to make the top 100 this year.
No, he will. I think he will. I mean, he played decent. I mean, the Jets 5-11 record or 5-12 record. But I mean, from a statistical standpoint, he had pretty decent stats, but just couldn't result in wins.
He did, and the Jets defense, which was supposed to carry the team, did not show up.
He'll be in the 30s this year.
Oh God. Okay. Well, what he is, you could call me a liar.
We'll do our top 100 list and see where we stand with the NFL players top 100.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen for me. You could do it, but I don't even know 100 players that I could rank. Okay, so number 10 on this list, and then we're going to wind it up here if that's okay.
Yep.
Number 10, the Denver Broncos.
I like that. I do like that.
I agree.
I like that. Like I said, if it was me, I'd probably move a couple teams down. I would knock San Francisco out of this list. I would probably knock the Vikings out of this list only because of their quarterback. And I would add Denver, and I would add I would put the Rams into the top 10 and knock out probably Frisco. If I had to choose, Frisco would be the team I would knock out and bring the Rams in the top 10 complete team. But I agree with Denver. I love Denver. I really like Bo Nix. I like that they drafted R.J. Harvey, the running back. I like their receiving core. They're young. I like Tony Franklin. I like Cortland Sutton. I think he's probably one of the most underrated wide receivers in the league. Their defense
last year?
Yeah, I mean, and he just makes catches that you can't believe. You just like, and you never hear about him. Very rarely, unless your team is playing him, you don't really notice him. But he just quietly goes about his business. He's healthy. I mean, he's available, which is,
He's a fantasy receiver of mine last year. I noticed him plenty.
Yeah, and again, and then you look at that defense. They were like close to the league lead in sacks. From their secondary, they got Patrick Surtain, I think. Is he in Denver? Yeah, so they got Surtain. I mean, they got a young, fast secondary. I mean, Sean Payton's their coach. I love the Denver Broncos. Probably my second favorite AFC team. If I had to rank my teams, I'd go Buffalo and Denver because I like Bo Nix. I think he's just that good of a player. I think I think I like him because to me he's and I know people, you're a Bills fan, but I mean I think he's a clone in some respects of a Josh Allen. He's a big physical quarterback who can make plays and make things happen because of his ability to scramble, get out of the way, shake off tackles, and still be able to make plays down the field. He's a very dangerous quarterback like that. And, I love everything about Denver. I think they're one of the big up-and-comers. I actually think that Denver is going to give Kansas City a run for their money in the AFC West. And I would not be surprised. That's why I said maybe on that one when you asked me, because I think Denver is the team that could very well unseat Kansas City in the AFC West.
Okay, so if you were to rank Kansas City and Denver on winning the division, would you say Kansas City's up? Maybe. And Denver's up? Maybe.
I would say Kansas City, and I say this only because of the coach, because of the continuity that they've had. I'm going to give the slight edge to Kansas City. I would give the slight edge to Kansas City.
Okay.
But again, it's just one of those things where there was so many times last year Kansas City was 15-2 and easily could have been 10-7.
Absolutely.
And so that's the and because Denver finished at 10-7, I will give the experience and the coaching and Patrick Mahomes just a little bit more to Kansas City, but the gap is closing fast. And I don't want to discount the Chargers at all, but I think the Chargers still a playmaker too, offensively and defensively, away from really being into that conversation. So to me, it's Kansas City and Denver are like,
Yeah.
It's going to be closer.
I'm going to ask a question. I do have to step away for 30 seconds, but I'm going to ask a question. Is it possible that the AFC West is the most exciting division in football this year?
Absolutely. I think number one, I think it becomes more exciting because I think you're not going to have the runaway division leader in Kansas City. I think the games are going to be important. I think the division games are going to be close. I think they're going to be tighter. I think they're going to be tougher. I think Kansas City is going to be pushed to the limit against all three of the teams in the AFC West. You look at the Chargers, you look at Denver. I don't even know who the other AFC West team is. Am I an idiot? Who's the other AFC West team? My guy's gone. Anybody have a guess? I don't know. Yeah, I look at the division. Who's the other team in the AFC West? It's Kansas City, Denver, the Chargers, and who?
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. See, I'm so dumb. I got three, and I'm like, oh. So yeah, I mean, I look at the division games are going to be closer. It's going to be tighter. Every game is going to be must-see TV when you're watching those division games. I think that Bo Nix in his second year, I really think he can explode. I think you add in a dynamic running back in R.J. Harvey. I think you get like I said, you get those running backs together, or you get the wide receiver with Sutton, and then you get your Troy Franklin along with the other guys that you have and their defense. And I look at that, I think Vegas might be the odd team out still. I like Geno Smith. I love Brock Bowers. But again, it's bringing that.
They got Genty in the draft. They got Genty in the draft.
Yeah, they got Genty, but I think they need another outside wide receiver to add to Myers, the other wide receiver. But like I said, when I just look at those teams and where they are, the division's going to be exciting. You're going to have Jim Harbaugh running the ball down your throat. You're going to have Patrick Mahomes running, throwing. You're going to have Bo Nix. You're going to have them running the ball. You're going to have them. I mean, Bo Nix is great in play action. It's just going to be exciting football. It's going to be an exciting brand of football. And like I said, watching those division games are going to be must-see TV because they're going to be knockdown dragouts. I mean, it's just I'm really excited about the West.
Football. Last year, quite honestly, the AFC West was before the season began was a joke. And Denver came on. That was like the big surprise of last year.
Right.
This year, I think everybody's going to be competitive. You know.
Well, and to Jeffrey's point, you know, a team can surprise you in year one. It's what they do the following year. But again, I look at the team, I look at the organization, I look at the coach, I look at the things they've added, the things they still have. And I look at the fact that Kansas City was so many times on the brink last year that if there's ever a time where the Patrick Mahomes dynasty can take a dip back, this would be it.
Yep. Agreed. So that's going to be definitely something we're going to keep an eye on for next year. And with that,
and the last thing I was going to say is, and that's why I look at, you know, even in the AFC East, and I'll just say it because from a Buffalo perspective, you know, you look at Buffalo, they've had a stranglehold on the division, but you look at a team like the Patriots with Drake May and them, and once they get all that talent, they got a new head coach and all those things, and once they can assemble that talent and get it on the same page and do those things, I mean, Buffalo is going to have a hard time. You know, again, I think they benefit from Miami and the Jets because I think Miami is at a pivotal point where they're going to have to start rethinking some of their strategy. And the Jets are at the point where, excuse me, we signed Justin Fields. We got some good talent offensively and defensively, but do we have now let's see if Aaron Glenn can put that together and form it into something formidable. And so again, you know, I think the AFC East is going to become a more competitive division over the next 2 to 3 years. And so I think that's where the AFC West is right now. It's just they're the AFC North and the NFC West right now are the two classes in the division, in the conference of teams that have to play head to head and so on and so forth.
Yep.
So,
all right.
So
okay. Well, with that being said, we will try to come up with some stuff for next week.
Yep.
I wanted to play Football Jeopardy again. I wanted to bring that back because that was always fun. But it's
we can do that, and maybe we'll get some. Maybe we'll do some advertising on the page and on our regular Facebook pages to get people to come in and participate.
Sure. And I will try to make the questions easier this year. So
I do have an autographed football jersey for the winner. So
well, that could happen. Well, there's only one person watching, so one person knows about it. But anyway, okay. Well, thank you all for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, notify, get it out to your friends, help us bolster this up. And we will see you next week from the couch.